Hi everyone, my name is Alexey Sintsov, and my present talk will be about few bugs in Lotus Domino, and one 0-day and one day. But not only because it's not so interesting just talking about bugs, so I will talk something about penetration test process and vulnerability research process during penetration test, because all these bugs, exploits was found and exploited during penetration test. There are some interesting moments. So my presentation will be contain two parts. First part, boring talk about penetration test, and second part will be about Lotus Domino and control of service. It's administration console for administrators and how to exploit it. Okay, we could start, and before a few words about me. So I am a penetration tester. I work for a company called ERP-Scan. Also, we have some research laboratory called DSecRG, and in this library, me and my friends try to find vulnerabilities, write exploits, doing some research, and the same stuff. Okay, also write articles to offline Russian magazine called Hacker. It's a Russian spelling. It's very interesting offline magazine where white hats and even black hats share their experience and tell some interesting stories. And the one more thing, me and my Russian friends created first DevCon group in Russia. It's DevCon 7.8.12. Group, and it's very interesting experience for me. So that's all. Okay, next slide. About my company, our special interest is security of business application and business system like SAP. We have our own product called ERP-Scan security scanner for SAP. And also we have some tools like XML scanner and Subsploit and etc. We're doing, of course, some consulting service, but this company is part of our Russian company called Digital Security, where we do other consulting stuff for Russian customers, like classical pen test, security assessment, and PCI DSS audit and other stuff. Okay, so let's talk something about penetration testing. Are there some pen testers or pen test related people who know what is it about? Okay, not bad. Let's see in this slide. There is some subtasks and challenges that every penetration tester must solve. Of course, it's not everything that penetration tester doing, but it's just some. It doesn't matter for this talking, because in this presentation I will focus just on finding vulnerabilities and exploiting them, and of course validation, because it's the most important part of penetration test. It's the most dangerous, most important, in this part of work give to penetration test real results. So it's a very interesting thing. Okay, how bug hunters really can find some vulnerabilities? There is many methods, of course, dynamic methods, static methods, source code review, and etc. There is really many ways how we can find vulnerabilities. Even by reading documentation to system, just by reading, we can understand that there is something wrong, there is a vulnerability. But the interesting question is, all this work for penetration tester when he doing his job, because it's not so easy to answer. Before we can get answer, we need to understand that pen tester is a very unhappy man. The main task, of course, is shows to the customer weak elements of his infrastructure, how it can be hacked, what hacker can get from his system, and how it really all works. It's a very interesting job, and there is some problem, because if we're talking about classical penetration test, we have very big numbers of target, very big scope, and there is really difficult application and difficult systems. well-known or custom, and all of them we need to hack if we need to speak simply about this. But we have not much time, and this is really the problem. So let's back to our methods and see what really penetration tester can do with well-known software like Lotus when he wants to find some vulnerabilities. Of course, he can use source code review if we talk about open source project, but if we talk about some not open source project, source code review is not possible. But also reverse engineering, very interested and very hard work. And in real situation, penetration testers have not enough time for reverse engineering when we're talking about well-known software, well-known application, because there is already many researchers doing this job and finding many vulnerabilities before him. So pentester just trust to guys who hacked it before, and if we talk about latest version of software, so it's usually then penetration tester do nothing, just doing some simple fuzzing if we're talking web application, maybe for binary application if he can reproduce the system on his own environment. But the main thing is CVE list and public database, and also public information about well-known vulnerabilities, about well-known software. We're talking about Lotus, so it's well-known, I hope. This is the problem because for penetration tester, because maybe it's not fair to customer, because of course in the future, in this version of software, will be found few 0 days vulnerabilities, and by some researchers on laboratories. But in penetration test, it's not too often when pen tester finds 0 days vulnerabilities. So if you penetration testers here, you can say me that I'm not right and tell me your insults. Yes? Okay, so because of course there is some rocket science penetration testers that can write further and find memory corruption and write exploits, reliable exploit for seconds. But when we're talking some general way, so pen tester can just use all these methods. Because he have not much time, is the same problem. So he just used the public information. Okay, but no, this is a sentence that researcher is not a penetration tester. But what about penetration tester? So I think that penetration tester, of course, is a researcher. There is a question about coverage of his work. How many pen testers did by doing penetration test? Of course, it's all this information is in a report. So what we have done against every target, what we have not done, what we exploited, why we don't exploit this thing or this thing, all this in a report. And this is how things works right now. Maybe it's not right by some reasons, and I show it later with real example with Lotus. Okay, okay, Lotus. Let's talk about it. It's a real story, so I will tell it how the things really be, because it was penetration test. We have a scope, big scope, and have many targets, and few of them was Lotus. So it was servers with installation of Lotus Domino. It's pretty popular, usable business system, and of course we want to hack it. So what we're gonna do? Okay, let's see. Of course we can detect a version of this Lotus. We can detect available services that we can use. And our next step, what is our next step? Just try to determine vulnerabilities in this version. So in first case, we have deal with version 8.5.2 with fix pack 2. It was not latest version on those moments when penetration test was executed. So of course there was some vulnerabilities. Okay, what next step? Okay, let's go to exploit.db for an example and try to see what exploits work for us and not work. Okay, the first exploit. It's very useless because it's denial of service exploit. We don't need this exploit, so it's not good. Okay, let's see the second exploit. Okay, maybe it's good, but it's client-side. So of course we can use it against employers of this company, of our customer, but against the servers that we want to hack right now, we can use it. So it's used right now. And all the exploits are already outdated. It's not work against our version of Lotus Domino. Okay, next step, let's dig deeper and for example, go to cvedetails.com and try to see some vulnerabilities there. So there are really many vulnerabilities in this version of Lotus Domino, but most of them without any public information, and most of them work with memory. So it's buffer overflows, memory corruptions, so it's denial of service risk present for these exploits, vulnerabilities. So we haven't any exploit, just one public POC for LDAP, but this POC don't work for me for some reason. And we have one vulnerability that not dangerous to the customer server, so just authentication bypass vulnerability. But against we have not any details information and any POC available for this vulnerability. This is an interesting moment in this position, because what next step for penetration tester is he needed to try to create his own exploit for existing vulnerability, or what? Of course, if we're talking about memory corruption exploits, we work in production. We don't want to launch this exploit, so it will be waste of time. Of course, we can create exploit, but it's dangerous, and the customer don't want and ask us to not run any dangerous things. And also, we have not any detailed information and have not time. So sometimes in this position, pen tester just write a report because this is dangerous. We have not any public any information. Of course, we can buy some exploits, but let's talk about then we have not anything. So okay, we can't do anything. It's very bad, but we can write a report. Finally, customer pay us for report. So we give him solution. We give him information about vulnerability. We give him all information he needs. So customer can be happy. But it's not good because it's no fun. The first thing. The second thing, we hack this server just in theory, but in practice, if we really can pawn it, maybe we can get more from this server, because, for example, it was a Windows server, so we can get hashes from this server. We can find interesting process and tokens in memory that we can impersonate. So we can really do many interesting things if we can hack it, but we can't for some reason. Okay, but as I said before, penetration pen tester is a researcher. So let's back to our model, simple. And what happens when we find vulnerability? Detect some vulnerability in CVE list. We need to take some analysis of every of this vulnerability. We need to read very carefully all about information about this vulnerability. Try to analyze what time needed to develop, exploit, or research this trigger for this vulnerability if information not available. And sometimes there is many vulnerabilities in ZDI and CVE that very easy to recreate exploit, create one-day exploit. So we just need to understand, can we do it right now or cannot? If we can, just make research, find trigger, create exploit, and finally do it. The same situation. Let's back to the Lotus, and again, first pack of bug really dangerous, and we don't want to have deal with them. But what about last? So we need to read details about it. Okay, go to the ZDI advisory and read something. So CVSS score at 10, so it's very good vulnerability for us because it's give to us full control to the server and give us very high rights in the system. So the next step, read details. What we can get from here? Okay, this vulnerability was found by Patrick Carlson, very smart guy, and he done many many cool things. For example, NSE scripts for Nmap, most of them write by this guy. So he's very smart, and he saw this vulnerability to ZDI, and we read this information that ZDI provide to us finally. Okay, this is a Domino control server. So we have found in Nmap scan TCP port 2050, and so we have this vulnerability. Sure that this vulnerability present in this system. Okay, now try to understand what's going on. Okay, there is some parameter called cookie file path that server get from input, from user input, and also there is vulnerability like UNC path. We can just send UNC path as cookie file path, and of course server by using INC path go to the remote server and take this file. But what's this in this file? In this file, authentication data, which will be used by this server for authenticate users. So in this way, we see that attacker have both what he want to input in console, just login and password, and control base information of where server takes this information and try to compare with what user inputs. So if we control both parts, we can do authentication as we want. Okay, but we have not any details about protocol, about this file format, and we have not anything more. But by reading this description from the DI, we can understand that very easy to try to get this information, because protocol is not a big secret. For example, we can use sniffer or something. So we can do small research and try to exploit this vulnerability. Maybe. Bad thing that Google doesn't know anything about this protocol that's used by Domino control server, but Patrick Carlson knows, because he writes many plugins for Nmap, and if we remember that, we can just open these plugins, try to open one of them and try to understand what protocol is. So two plugins was brute force and command execution for Nmap, but they're not exploiting vulnerability, just brute force and then code execution. Okay, let's open brute force and brute force script file and see that a simple SSL tunnel, and there is simple plain text command that start with hashtag, then comment, then spice byte, and then parameters. So for authentication, where we need to input user and password, we use hashtag, UI, and then login, then password as parameters. And then we can use command exit. After that, the console will work if password is okay. If not, so it's disconnected, will be disconnected. But we do not get any information about cookie file. We don't know anything. It doesn't help. It helps, but not much. So we can guess, just guess, if the hashtag and some comment name, maybe there is hashtag and cookie file. Okay, I'm trying it. Really, it's true, because when I try to use hashtag, something not existing, push enter, then server return to me that there is invalid comment. When I push hashtag and cookie file and then UNC pass, server tell me nothing. So he eats this comment and parse it well. But I have not get any incoming connection by SMB. So it is not enough just use hashtag and cookie file. We need something more. So this problem. But if we can read some IBM documentation, we have know that all this Domino control server is just simple Java application, Java servlet. We can just decompile it. It's very easy because it's Java. It's not binary. Use DJ decompiler and try to make source code review in this way. So let's try to do that. Okay. This is the first part of code. S1 string it's all input from socket. So there is our plain text, and there we can see that it's try to determine what comment we use. There we can find our cookie file and see that if server meet cookie file, it try to initialize cookie file name variable with our var, and so it's work, and other parameters you can see there. This is how authentication works, and we can see there are two functions that can authenticate us. Simple authenticate by password and verify applet user cookie function. This function really works when we want to exploit this vulnerability. But you see if condition and see that Apple connection must be set as true if we want to use cookie file name as auth file. So we go back and find that we need use hashtag applet before do anything. So that's why before I just guessed nothing worked. I need to use hashtag applet. So now we have anything except format of file. Okay, let's go to this function and see. It's very simple function. Any software that make code review static analyzer can find that this is not secure when we just open file name without any filtration. Cookie file name come here without any filtration. So we just read all file content into string S7. And what's next? There is, we can use, of course, UNC pass. So there is a bug, but there is a condition. There is a trigger. Because it's just XML parser, so we can understand that cookie file is just simple XML with tag user and attribute username, cookie, and address. And then just try to equal information from this file with information that attacker input by console by hash UI command. So we can control both of them, and of course if it's all equal, function set variable flag as true, and if we see here, can see if flag, then there open one block of code, and this block is all functionality of the server. So if we can get into this block, we if we get into this block, we can do our authentication is done. So very simple exploit. It takes 15-30 minutes to reverse and exploit this. So just try to use and create file on your own workstation. We know about file format. So name admin, cookie will be as password, and address any value you want. And after that, just use ncat connect to port 2050. Of course, using SSL. You see the first try, I'm trying authenticate by login admin and password dsecker G, and server answer me that this password is wrong. After that, I'm run applet, cookie file, UNC pass to my workstation, to my XML file, and then try again. And okay, I'm a valid user. I can do anything. For example, run who am I, and you can see that I'm a system. So it's very simple and very easy to exploit and very easy to research. And so it means just that penetration tester can do more than just see CV details and do some stuff. Okay, so this is bug done by us, and of course we need that firewall rules will be available. There will be right rules that from server to our workstation, server can be connected by SMB protocol, because you can see it's SMB. We need that there is no problem with firewall rules. For example, if this server will be in internet, so we have trouble, we can't exploit this like this, because is there a big chance that SMB traffic was filtered. Okay, what about mitigations for this issue? The first thing, it's writes in admin data XML file. It's special file created on server side where every user and hash passwords present, and there are also numbers with writes. So we can just remove writes for system execute, and that means even we can bypass authentication. We can't run any dangerous. We can run auth operation system commands if we have not enough privileges. The second, of course, if we can run just system commands, we can run a dangerous function in Lotus. Everybody must remember load command that can be exploited, used in Domino console. So load just run any exe file with any parameters. So we can run load and run cmd exe with any parameters we want. So there is another mitigation for this issue. It's service password for dangerous function like load, tell, and others. So it's two solutions, two mitigations, and it really can help because we of course can bypass authentication, but we cannot use system commands, and we need additional passwords that we cannot bypass for running dangerous function. So what we can do in this case, really sometimes in this case I'm fan of SMB relay. So because we remember that a server goes to our workstation by SMB protocol, so we can just use SMB relay if environment is enough for us. For example, it's Microsoft Active Directory, no care bearers, and Lotus Domino runs from domain account with, of course, with system privileges. So we have, for example, another server. So this is a simple description of SMB relay. When we try to push UNC path, so server 1, it's with IP 0.2, goes to our workstation with 1 first IP. So we can just be man in the middle and reproduce this authentication to another server, because SMB relay doesn't work to the same server right now from 2008, and just play man in the middle and finally get system access on the second server where this account have enough privileges. So for example, it can be backup Lotus server or something like that. It's really work. It's screenshot from real pen test process and just change IP and hashes. Okay, let's look into what IBM changes in version 8.5.3. So they have patched it, have fixed it. Very simple. Just add .byte before cookie file path name. So now we can't use UNC because it's will be already non-UNC format, because we have dot before 2 slashes, and we can push server to connect to our workstation by SMB. So it is not working right now. The second fix is add one string. You can see, if you can see, it's client authentication by certificate. So we cannot connect by NCAT anymore because we need client certificate and server try to authenticate us by this certificate. So it will not work, and we have the same situation. This situation in this version 8.5.3. So you see nmap scan. You see there nmap scan, and you see that port 2050 SSL but / unknown, because nmap can get any banner from Lotus controller, Domino controller, because it was rejected to connection after SSL on SSL stage. So it detects that there is SSL but cannot grab the banner. But we understand that it is 8.5.3, and for us it is the latest version for Lotus, and we can just write green line in report because this is the latest version. It's well-known software. There are no vulnerabilities anymore. Or we can do something more again, because because we already have something with this code, we're familiar with this problem, and just remember that something wrong. It's not enough. It's maybe not good patch, and try to see here. So this code stays the same, but do you see there any vulnerabilities in this code? I can give help. And more, and more, and one more, and one more. Okay. Of course, any of automatic scanners found nothing there, because no dangerous function, no nothing. But it's not XML parser really. Why IBM write his own XML parser on Java? It's a strange thing, really. It's just substring and that's all. There's many substrings. So we take index of start user, and after user the space byte, and find the next index, bracket, closed bracket, and this is a string. All between these two indexes, string will be parsed into S7 string, and then we just try to find index of user with quarter and end quarter. So what does this mean for me? It means this ideal word and ideal XML file, I hope. But what is that? It's not XML file, right? But for this XML parser, of course, we can find user, we can find end bracket, and all between these two indexes our S7 string. Now we're trying to find admin name, cookie, address, and quarters, and all between quarters we move into our variables. So this is valid XML file. So we can again, it is already another vulnerability, but it's the same part of code, and we can again exploit it. For an example, it's again the same scan. Example, we can see Microsoft HTTP API. So it's IIS web server, and of course this web server handle log files. So we can inject our XML file into this log file, and after that, because we have just one dot before cookie file path name, we can just add another dot and use traversal directory. IBM help us with it even. Okay, this is a simple way how we can inject file, but all spaces will be encoded, so we need to make two GET requests. First, just user, because we need space byte between user and HTTP response code. So we have a space byte, we have user, we have close tag, and we have all data there. So it's pretty valid XML file for this controller, and now we can just inject it. But we have second problem. We need client certificate to be authenticated on controller before we can input any commands. The very funny thing is that this certificate and key can be get it from the same jar file. It's jconsole GKS, so we can just try to get this key from this file and use it, because every installation of Lotus Domino use the same case and the same certificate. So it's not really a problem. We just the fix number 2, it doesn't help, because when we use the same certificates every time, so it's just, I don't know, not fixed. Okay, but I'm too lazy. I don't want to extract case from GKS and create difficult exploits. I have no time because I'm a penetration tester, not a researcher right now. We can use same file, console.jar, because the same file is a server and same time it's a client. So all code for server part, for client part in one file. And we can use it as applet, and all parameters can be get from tags and simple HTML file, and we can, and this file will be used his own certificate for authentication on server side, so it will work. Okay. Some time for demonstration. Okay, I need to run my so there is our Lotus server. Okay, we have Lotus. We have browser. So this is our target. This is our target, and for example, I'm just install E7 because it was the simplest way for demonstration. And there is a Lotus Domino as well. Okay, second. Okay. Trying to check if Lotus is up. Okay, yes, it's up, and it's last version 853. And you see SSL/unknown, as it means that we have not certificate yet. Okay, let's open an exploit. So there is exploit, but our remote part will be our local host because it connect default by code base address. So if we want to redirect, we need to use port forwarding, because this exploit try to connect to localhost. If we try to input the remote IP address 130.2, it will not work, because there is no any doc base, because there is no web server running. Lotus web server not running on the server. So we need to run it local to localhost, but of course it's not a problem. We can just redirect from local to remote. Okay. Now we need to inject XML file, but what is VOC file? For ESS it's very standard way, and where this is current date. So today we have what year? 12 months 3, and today 16 maybe. Okay, so now we need to inject. Okay, before let's look into just for demonstration, very difficult password. Okay, so yeah, 12. So it's a current log file, we can open it. So there is just simple logs, and now try to inject some stuff. Okay. The first must be user with bracket. And that's all, because we need spice byte. Okay, 404, of course. The next. Okay, what's next? Name. There really one detail about this vulnerability. The account name must be really exist in the system. We can just to type anything we want, but it's easy to brute force, because if we use different password or not right account name, it's server return to us different message. So we can just brute force understand what against exist in the system. Cookie and next address. The same. It doesn't matter. Okay, check it all. It doesn't matter. It's we can do it, but okay, let's. Because if I do a mistake, it will be very, very bad. We need to wait 1 day more for next log file. So I'm just. Looks like okay. Okay. Let's check. Okay, user is here. We need something to wait, because buffering. Generate. Not yet. Oh, of course we forgot something. Call stack. Okay. Just from. Okay, now we see that. Okay, let's try. For an example, there is not existing user, and if we try to connect, Java exploits. Okay.
Excuse me.
Yep.
I think you forgot to save the file, so the log file name is wrong. You save the file in the editor.
Let's check. Not. You're right. Oh, I think there is a problem, or not? Okay. Oh, we have some scene. There is a message that we can understand that R phys A is not administrator. It means there is no login exist. Okay, let's check. Again, change. Okay, save. Who opened it? Okay, yeah. The fastest way is just create another. Okay, that's all. So we can just, of course, it's not work with Russian, but I'm sure that the system in Russian. It's, so this is the zero day, and we can exploit it right now everywhere. And I'm really right to IBM a letter 3 months ago, but it's strange. The guy who I'm talking with IBM always answered to me, but this time it was something strange. Okay, what's next? Let's back to the presentation. Yeah, of course.
When this log file is parsed, there's a lot of junk there. Doesn't the parser raise any exceptions on that?
It's just that code that I demonstrated. It's all. It's just opened by Java and try to find data by substrings function Java. It's not real parser. It's a fun thing because IBM write their own XML parser by substrings in Java. It's a very strange decision. Okay. Okay. What's next? Just for a joke, of course, I try to sky the internet because it's very interesting, and American government have the same problem. It's very easy to find because the TCP port 2050 it's very not for the internet port. It's by default need to be filtered, so it's very strange. And also I found this in Russia and some Russian university. It's very easy to find by using Google tricks and then scan IP. I'm just try to find any Lotus Domino web service and then scan by an app subnet for this service. So it's not in US is the most big counter of 2050 ports for some reason. So it's a government server and they do really something scientist things for US government. Not secure, and of course it's old version because we see the SSL slash and we grab the banner, so it means old version of Lotus, not the latest. And I'm right to them too, but nothing changes 3 months, the same situation. So it can be exploited even from internet. And what I can just say, what is the conclusion of this talk? Of course, pen tester will get more profit if he tries to research something. It's yeah, thanks, Cap. But it's really shows that this job is not just simple vulnerability scanner doing. We can do some research. We can try to do something interesting and more. So really, penetration tester, it's bigger than security researcher in some way. So I don't want to be offensive to security researchers, but I look things in that way. And of course, we go 0 day, and finally we pound the server and got hashes, and we get we will get administration of all domain by this vulnerability. So it's very, very useful. And what I can say to defender, of course, the best decision is just use firewalls. It's old school, but it works. And use both of mitigations, less privileges and set service password on console. It helps if for old bugs and when an attacker can get to the console. I think that's all. So if you have questions or something, I can try get answer. No? That's good. Please feel feedback so that I understand what I'm doing wrong. So please feel it. And thank you very much for attention.